A somber scene in Houston at a growing makeshift memorial outside the site of that concert disaster. People leaving flowers to remember the victims. What happened is now the subject of a criminal investigation as authorities try to sort out what led to 8 deaths and dozens injured, some still hospitalized.
And 50,000 people were in the audience that night at the Travis concert. Friday night, when some surged forward, compressing the crowd at the front of the venue into a dangerous crush of bodies, unable to move, some unable even to breathe, and now so many questions yet to be answered.
And among those questions, how long did it take to stop the concert, and how effective was security? Authorities saying more than 1,200 police officers and private guards were working the concert, and Houston's police chief also addressing one disturbing possibility, that individuals were injecting strangers with drugs.
This whole news has just been folding, and the first time I saw this, I was so just reading it and just visualizing it, even without seeing the videos, just reading the article and seeing the pictures, like all the fire. I was just thinking, like, the heat must have been crazy, and the number of people packed in there like sardines. Like, I can imagine these people were not breathing, and it was just such a crazy concert. Like, literally there were people there who had never been to a concert, and that was their first concert, and that was their last day on earth, like, literally. And just some questions come to mind as to, you know, what were the preparations for such a concert, because there are people who were able to jump the barricade, and definitely more people in the concerts than was planned for. So when that was happening, how did they respond to it? What can we learn from this? What can planners of such events do to make such concerts more safe for people? You know, everyone has a responsibility in this. Are you surprised at the way things were managed? Have you been to such similar concerts, and did you hear of people dying as a result of just the overcrowding, you know, lack of oxygen? Or, you know, have you been in a situation like in a mosh situation? I know, like, with my metal video reactions, you know, they do like mosh pits and stuff. Like, they even have larger crowds, and I didn't really hear too many people dying from those concerts, but you know, this is 50,000 people is a lot of people, but there are bigger concerts with maybe better crowds control and better contingency planning.
This morning, a criminal investigation is underway as we learn more about the lives lost during the pandemonium at this Texas music festival. It left 8 people dead, the youngest victim just 14 years old. Overnight, one victim identified as Brianna Rodriguez, a 16-year-old high school junior, and 21-year-old Franco Patino, an engineering student at the University of Dayton. Approximately 50,000 people attending global superstar Travis Scott's sold-out festival in Houston when authorities say the crowd began surging the stage. One fan seen here being lifted off the ground and carried out. 300 people had to be treated, fans reporting having to gasp for air, crushed in the crowd.
I could feel myself like if I was drowning underwater, like I was gasping for air and I couldn't get it, and I was screaming like I've never screamed before, and nobody could hear me.
Her husband laying on top of her, shielding her from the onslaught of people.
It was very hard and scary, but I just laid on her to make sure nobody stepped on her.
Just the whole thing about people falling down and people still stepping on them is like, you know, it's so sad and so heartbreaking, except for some few good Samaritans that try to look out for their neighbor and help people out. Like, imagine if more people were willing to help in that situation. I watched another video where the guy was saying he was trying to put people in the VIP section because he had a little bit more space, and this lady was literally pushing pushing those people down, and the people he was trying to lift up were people who were like passing out.
And joining us now are two people who survived the ordeal at that Travis Scott concert, 19-year-old Kaya Ritas and former Marine Lucas Nakarati. Good morning to you both. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning.
Kaya, let me begin with you. I know you were there with a friend. When did you first sense that something was going terribly wrong?
About 20 minutes before he came out.
And what were you seeing in the crowd?
I looked behind me and there was no opening to get out. It was like there was just people on top of people, and it was just too much.
And Lucas, I know that you tried to help people along the way. You're a strong guy, clearly, but it took you crushed into the crowd as well.
Right. Yeah, I was definitely crushed. And it was just so intense to where you couldn't even scratch your face no matter how hard you tried. Whatever position you were stuck in, regardless of what you did.
And Lucas, I know you shared video with us, and you could see how tightly packed the crowd was. How close were you to the front, and how much were people crowded in together?
I would say I was about at least 100 feet from the front. So I was towards the middle, near where the camera people were at, and we were just packed beyond belief. So even at that point, I guess that was one of the more intense parts of the crowd, since it was towards the middle.
And you were a former
everyone
Marine.
Just trying to rush into there.
Right. Lucas, you're a former Marine. I know that you stopped to help people, give them CPR at one point. How difficult and dangerous was this situation?
The first person that I gave CPR to, it was just this girl was just screaming for her life, and I looked over to her, I grabbed her towards the end, towards the back of the crowd, and when I found a spot where I could lay her down and start doing it, she just wasn't responding. I checked her pulse, I checked everything, I started giving her CPR. After about a minute and a half, she came back, and another girl saw her, started taking over. I looked over to my right to look for a security guard. There was a guy just getting completely stomped on. I just put my shoulder down and just rushed into the crowd and I think I just trucked like two people. I took out the second guy. The second guy was pretty much dead as I got him. I tried for like a minute and a half. People started walking all over me. People started walking all over him. So I did CPR for as long as I could until I felt like my life was now at risk. And I just went to go look for a security guard or medic, but that guy didn't respond at all. I'm pretty sure he was just dead already.
It's just so horrific, and there's no way you're gonna watch this and it's not gonna bother you. It's just so unfortunate. And multiple parties contributed to the failure of this concert. And I don't know, I just want to know what you guys think. Let me know what your thoughts are below. I know there are many angles and many ways to look at this, but what more could have been done? What could have been done better? What do you know from your experience? And how do you feel about everything?
A live stream of the event showing Scott stopping his 75-minute performance several times when he spotted fans in distress in the crowd.
We need somebody to help him. Somebody passed out right
He
here.
released a statement saying, in part, "I'm absolutely devastated by what took place last night. My prayers go out to the families and all those impacted by what happened at Astroworld Festival. Houston PD has my total support as they continue to look into the tragic loss of life."
Since I recorded this video, there has been some updates to the case. Travis has been sued alongside with Drake, who was a guest at the show, and more information is coming. So it is a developing story.
There is no fence, no time for hesitance. Gotta make a stance this instant.